Well, hello there. Happy Monday to you. I'm excited about our little video tonight. Hey, Navala. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Donna. I saw you joined earlier. That's awesome. Hey, Moonpix Art. Thanks for stopping by. So we're going to talk about a couple different things today. I'm going to be doing a Dutch pour YouTube video demo for my next video, which should be up tomorrow, if all goes all right, with the editing and all that stuff. Hey, Sandra, thanks for joining us. And hey, Donna, or Dana, how are you? So I'm picking out the colors for that painting. It's going to be, I think I'm going to use one of my favorite color palettes for that one. It's a turquoise, like a turquoise, gold, and blue palette. And so I'll just show you those, and then we'll get into the other part of the video, which is just a little Dutch pour practice. I'll have a couple Dutch pour tips for you, and a couple things that really helped me out when I started with the Dutch pour to kind of get control of your hair dryer, and a couple little practice exercises you can use to just get practice with blowing the paint around. And we'll talk about the consistency a little bit too. That's really important for the Dutch pour. So, and then it's gonna be a little tricky because my hair dryer, I'm gonna turn that on and blow the paint around. I don't know if that's gonna be crazy loud. So I might talk about what I'm gonna do and then mute my mic, do my blowing, and then come back. Hopefully that'll work out. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, just quickly, I'll just show you the colors I'm going to use for my next video. So the first color is the base coat. I'm going to use a Artist Loft white base coat. And, you know, I'm sure you've seen this before. This is kind of my go-to white. So that'll be my white base. And then I'm going to use 4 colors in that painting. I'm going to use turquoise. I really like this Artist Loft turquoise. It's a little like brighter than some of the other turquoises. I really like that one. And then metallic blue, my favorite blue, also Artist Loft. These work really well together. They blend and make this really awesome combination of colors. And then for my dark color, I'm going to use Payne's Gray again. And hey, JC, thanks for stopping by. And so that'll be my dark color. Good old Payne's Gray from Liquitex, and then a gold. So I'll use probably just the Liquitex gold. So those will be my 4 colors, and probably just a, you know, I don't know how I'm going to, what kind of composition I'm going to do yet with that painting. It's going to be a 12 by 16, so not a huge painting, but good enough, a good enough size. So this should be a fun one. I've wanted to do that one for a little while now with the Dutch pour. So hopefully that'll all turn out well, and I'll have a video up tomorrow. Hey there, Facebook user from Arkansas. Hi there, Corinda. Hope I said that right. Corinda Smith from Australia. Zena, hey, how are you doing? So thanks for joining us, and thanks, Navala. Yeah, the Dutch pour is going to be fun. So I'll do that one after we're done here tonight, and then I'll film it and edit it and all that. So that should be up on my channel, my YouTube channel tomorrow, hopefully around 8 or 9 in the morning Pacific time. So hopefully, we'll see. The last time I had some editing issues, I had to kind of re-edit the whole thing, which was terrible. So, hey, Facebook user from Florida. One thing I want to mention just quickly as an aside, if you're joining on Facebook, there's a little thing called Join with StreamYard. I'm using StreamYard to stream everything. And if you just click and allow StreamYard to see your face and name, then I can see who's talking to me. Otherwise, Facebook doesn't allow it. You have to go and click on that little allow StreamYard to see your face and name. But it's no big deal, though, just for next time, maybe, if you want to click that. Hey, Giselle, thanks for stopping by. So anyway, let's talk about Dutch pour. I think for the new people, I just went over the colors I'm going to use for my demo. I'll just say them really quick again. So I'm going to use turquoise and metallic blue and Payne's Gray and gold. So 4 colors. I've used these colors a lot in a lot of different techniques and paintings. I love this palette. So that'll be a fun one. I'll do that later. So I'm going to move these out of the way over here. So, and then of course the base coat is going to be Artist Loft Flow Acrylic. So we'll talk about this now. This is an important paint, I think. If you're struggling with the Dutch pour and you want to learn the Dutch pour, this can be very, very handy, because I'm going to share with you my ratios, my mixtures, my formula for this color. And if you can get this color right, like for your base coat, then you can use that to match all your other colors to get the proper consistency. So if you can pick some of this up, I think it'd be very handy for you to get the right consistency. So the ratio I use for my base coat using the Flow Acrylic White is just a variation of my like basic formula that I use with Floetrol. So it's 5 parts Floetrol and 3 parts paint. And then to get it thin enough to blow with the Dutch pour, it's 2 parts water. So it's a 5 parts Floetrol, 3 parts paint, 2 parts water. And that's it. And then if you mix all that up really well, you'll get it's a very pretty liquid consistency. I'll show you the consistency in a second. I've already mixed up a cup of it. So, but if you can get that, and that's it. That's all I do. And it's just the right consistency that I like for the Dutch pour. And then I use that paint, and then I can match all my other colors to the right consistency. And all my other colors, I would also mix with 5 parts Floetrol, 3 parts paint, or you could, if you wanted to, you could do 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and then add enough water to get to that same consistency. So, because that water will vary with the other colors. The water for the Artist Loft White is always the same. It's always 2 parts. So I hope that makes sense. But that's a very handy tip. If you can, mix up your white or your base coat, and then you can match all your other colors to the base coat as far as the consistency goes. And it's pretty fluid. So, but I'll show you that in a second. So anyway, let me show you a couple things that I've got set up here. Let me pull this over. So I've got a canvas right here. This is an 11 by 14 canvas. This is about the smallest size that I like to use for a Dutch pour. When you're working with a hair dryer and blowing paint around, if you get too small, it just, you just don't have enough area, enough room to kind of have the paint blow around to make a nice composition, at least in my opinion. Because we're, the air is coming out in, a fairly good, about 2 inches. So you're kind of blowing these 2-inch ribbons of paint around. So you want something that's large enough to allow you to have a little room to move the paint around. So an 11 by 14 is about the smallest I like to work, but that's just me. So this is 11 by 14. I just have it on this bucket here. I've got my barrier wall up because this gets messy, and so I've got a right side and a left side barrier, and there's a barrier right here, and I just set that up, and it kind of captures all the paint that flies around. So, but I put this just on this bucket just to demonstrate a couple things before we get going. So I think you can see the top of my canvas there. So I'll pull out my dryer, and hey everybody that's joining us, thanks for joining. From Florida, from Australia, thank you. So here's my dryer, my blow dryer that I like. I've got this one. I've gone through maybe 2. I think this is my 3rd one, and I really like this one a lot. It's got 2 diffuser ends on it. This is a smaller one, and then it's also got a larger one like that. So I normally only use the big one for pretty big canvases, like 18 by 24 and like larger. But this one, the small one, works pretty good for kind of medium, all the medium sizes. And the brand name is Orlif, Orlif, and it's an Orlif Professional. So I got this on Amazon, and it's a pretty small dryer. I like it. It's lightweight, and it's got 2 speeds, just a regular speed and a fast speed. So 2 speeds, but then 3 temperature settings. So it has a cold or a cool, and then 2 heats. But I just leave it on the cool all the time, and it's got the little buttony thing for whatever that is, the cool shot. I never really use it. But it's a nice dryer, and it's not super loud, which is something I really like. It probably is going to be crazy loud if I turn it on, because my mic will pick it up. So when I go to turn on the mic, maybe I'll test it, and you can tell me if it's like, turn it off. So let me see. I got a question real quick. Zena said, it's hard to find Artist Loft Flow in Europe, and I know it produces cells. Is there another white that is similar? Well, I don't know how much it produces cells. I think because all the whites I use are kind of the similar, but I know it can be difficult to find in other places other than the US. I would just see if you could find more of a soft body white. I know, something like the Amsterdam white in the tubes, that's a little thick. But if they have more of a, what's it called? Kind of a bigger bottle of school grade acrylics. Those are usually a little more fluid, and that might work really well for you. I know over here in the US, Blick makes a Blick acrylic white, which is very similar to the Artist Loft white as far as the consistency or fluidity of that paint. So the Blick acrylic actually is very close to the Artist Loft. So you could probably use that with the same formula, with the same ratio. Another one is, what is it? Creative Touch, Masters Creative Touch. It's the one from Jerry's Artorama, but again, that's in the US. I'm not sure about like the Montmartre, if that's over in Europe. But I would just look for, if you could try to find like more of a school grade white paints. They usually come in like bigger bottles, and they're a little more fluid than paints in like the tubes like these. So hopefully that helps you. I know it's difficult when we're all different parts of the world and we're all trying to do the same thing. But I'll show you the consistency, Zena, and maybe that will help you to get the right. You'll know what to look for at least, hopefully. Okay, great. Okay, good question. So I've got my canvas up here. We're talking about my blow dryer thing that I like to use right here. So I got this on Amazon. So if you wanted to go look for this one, that's fine. I'm sure any blow dryer will work, but they're all a little different. So some are more powerful, some have different features or attachments or things like that. But I'll show you kind of just a couple things that helped me out when I was learning to move the paint around with the blow dryer, because it does take a little practice just to get the hang of using this thing. It's like this crazy tool we're using, but I'll show you a couple things. So first of all, when you're just starting out, if you've not done much of the Dutch pour at all, or the air swipe, as some people call it, or haven't used your blow dryer that much, I'll demonstrate this when we get into actual painting. But if you can start high and turn on your blow dryer, and then you have a puddle of paint on your canvas. And the first thing I like to do is you can lower your blower and see the height from the canvas to the tip of your blow dryer to see when the paint is starting to move. So, and of course you have to have it to the right consistency, but where that's a given. So that can really help you if you can kind of see and gauge the height from where the canvas is to the tip of your blow dryer. and see kind of how high you want to get. And that can really help, because then you can adjust the height and then the angle a little bit. But one thing I always do is you can pull back. So if you're starting to blow too much, you just pull your dryer back a ways and it'll slow it down. So that's just one little practicey thing, and I'll kind of demonstrate that when we start painting. But it might be hard to gauge the height of, if I'm going to use my top-down camera, but it's hard to gauge the height of where my dryer is. So I wanted to just demonstrate this kind of on just a side view. So I will oftentimes adjust the height of my dryer. So I'm pulling it up and down, and I usually hold it just like this. And so I'm blowing it this way. And then also I like to blow it backwards. So another tip is, if you can learn to blow your paint in both directions, forwards and backwards. It's a little tricky, kind of blowing it back towards you, but it's a good skill to kind of master, blowing it in all directions without having to like turn the canvas or something like that. So you can blow it away and then back and at angles. So it's good practice. So that's just a little tip on the dryer. So I'm going to move my bucket out of the way and put that down here. So I mixed up a cup of the Artist Loft white, and I also added a little bit of a neutral gray to it, just so you could see it more easily when I pour it on the canvas. It's hard to see just white paint moving around, so I made it a light gray. So it's a pretty light gray, but I think hopefully you'll be able to see it better on the camera. And so other thing I did, I also mixed up a little cup right here of Prussian blue. So I'm just going to practice with one color. And I think it's a great way to kind of just do practice, Dutch pour things. Just use one color to start with and get comfortable just blowing the paint around. And, first of all, blowing your base coat around is what I'll show you first. But then laying out a couple, streams of paint or ribbons of paint, and then get used to kind of just blowing that around instead of trying to make, like a finished painting right off the bat. Just get comfortable moving the paint around. And then what you can do is once you've kind of blown it around and kind of, maybe messed up your canvas, just scrape off all the paint off your canvas, put it back into a cup and do it again. And just, keep practicing that a couple times, and you'll really get a much better feel for using the blow dryer, moving paint around, and you don't have all that pressure on you of like, oh my gosh, I got to make a pretty painting. This is just practice. So think of batting practice, Don't think about you got to go in the game and perform. You're just hitting the ball, or you're just playing catch. So just think of it as practice. It takes all the pressure off of you, and you learn a ton, and you get much more comfortable using your tools and your paints. So you're welcome, Zena. And by the way, if you have any questions along the way, just throw them in the chat, and I'll glance over there and check them every now and then. So let me put some gloves on. I got some old gloves. And I'll switch the camera, and you can take a look at some paint. Okay. So I'll move these out of the way. All right, so I've got my Artist Loft paint. I'll just leave that over here. Okay, so here's my paint, my cup of paint. And so I'll switch the camera, and I can show you the consistency, and you can kind of see what that looks like. All right, here we go. Okay, I got my notes here. Move my notes out of the way. All right, so there's my canvas. So here is the cup of white Artist Loft and a little bit of that neutral gray. And so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see, it's going to be very hard to see that consistency, but it's very watery. And what it does is when you let the paint stream off your stick, maybe I'll switch the camera back and show you that. But it makes, there is no slight mound, which I normally like a slight mound for most of the techniques. This one, the paint goes right in there and there's no trace or anything. So it's very, very watery. It's not as thin as water, but it is very fluid. And the same with my Prussian blue. It's going to be very hard to see that on the camera, I think. Yeah. So let me switch back real quick. Maybe I can, here, I'm going to zoom in. Check this out. Okay. Woo! Here we go. So I'm zoomed in. Here's my paint. It's going to be hard again to see it, but I'll try my best. So you can see it. It runs off. You can't really see inside the cup though, but it is very watery or very fluid. So, but again, if you have the Artist Loft, that formula, the 5 parts Floetrol, 3 parts paint, 2 parts water, gets you right there. That's all I add every time. So hopefully that's probably not that great. But here's the blue. That's even the same. It's hard to tell. So, but take my word for it, I guess. Let me zoom back out so you not staring at my mouth. Okay, there we go. All right. So, okay. So sorry, I couldn't, it's hard to show that on like this setup I have right now. But it's very fluid. There is no mound. The paint goes like right in the cup, almost making a tiny divot also, if you've done a lot of paint mixing. But again, if that's, I think that is the best way to learn how to mix this stuff is using the Artist Loft if you have it available. But again, that's if you're in the U.S. or I'm not sure about Canada. I think they can get it over there. Okay, so but it's a very fluid mixture. Let me flip back and I'll show you some practice moves with the dryer. Okay, so one thing I like to do is you don't need a lot of paint after you blow out your base coat. You really don't need a ton of paint that's on the canvas when you're pouring like the ribbons or even your puddles. And pouring it out of cups like this can be hard to limit how much paint comes out. So one thing I like to do is get some little paper cups. This is just like a little 3-ounce paper cup. And I'll just pour some of this in here. And with the paper cups, you can bend them and you can get that nice little spout, that little pointed spout. This makes it a lot easier to control how much paint you pour out of your cup and limit how much paint is on the canvas. So I like to use these little things. These are hard to kind of mix the paint in, I find, but they're great for kind of, using them as a little pouring device. So I have some of that. So here is my white and gray again. It's all ready to go. So I'm going to just pour, and underneath that, let me show you this real quick. I have some freezer paper down. I'm using some old stuff, but I put a piece of new stuff down, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I've got my freezer paper down. And so I'm going to just pour a puddle in the center of my canvas. I'm just guessing. I probably am going to need a little bit more. I'll pour a little bit more. And then I'm going to take my dryer and then blow and then just spread out the base coat. Just blow out the puddle. So I'm going to mute my mic so you're not like deafened by my hair dryer. So just a second. Okay, so that was it. That was just a quick blowout. And I have enough, I think I have enough paint. I didn't quite hit the edges right here and here. But I could do that again. And if you kind of tilt, it's not going to work. It's just, there's too much glare. But that's just a very even, base coat blown out. And if you can just get used to that and just practice that a few times, that's huge. That's a big help in your in learning how to use the blow dryer. So now I'm going to just add one little ribbon of blue. I'll tilt it. It's a little thicker than I wanted to. Now you can also practice two ways of blowing the paint out. You can practice the blow over technique, or just blow it out without the blow over, just like it is now. So if you wanted to practice the blow over, which is a very popular way to do it, you can add a little more paint. And I like to kind of break it up and put a little paint on one side, and then I put some on the other side. So I kind of blow over in two directions, not all in the same way. So again, I'm going to mute my mic, and then I'll blow it out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's the blow over. So I blew it this way towards me on this side and away from me on that side. And then now we're going to just blow it out and see what we can make with our paint. And when you're doing this, I like to start again high with my dryer high and come in kind of easy and slowly to kind of see where the paint's going to move and kind of how high I need. If you come in real low, it's just going to blow everywhere. So I like to start higher and then kind of work my way down towards the canvas. Okay, let's see what happens. So that's it. That was pretty easy. Just a few little swipes, and we got an interesting looking painting. We got a lot of cells forming. So I think our consistency is good. Hopefully that's showing up okay on the camera. And here's a good question from JC. So JC says he thought we were supposed to hold the blower upside down. You don't have to, JC. You can hold it any way that feels comfortable to you. I like to hold it this way. With this particular dryer, holding it like a normal dryer, it allows me to easily pivot and move the nozzle or the head of the dryer. I've seen, many people like hold it like this, upside down. I've tried that many times. For me, this just seems uncomfortable. I don't have a great grip on the dryer. And sometimes if you got a lot of paint on your hands or something, it can actually just slip right out of your hand. So I'd say hold it whichever way is comfortable to you. And I mean, some people hold it sideways. I've tried it sideways like this, holding it like this, and then I turn the diffuser long ways, and that works pretty good. But this way, holding it like this, just like a regular dryer, just feels better to me. So practice and see, try it out, see what you like, and any way will work for you. So there's no right way with holding it. So that's a personal choice, I think. So, okay, so now let's see. We've got our we did a nice little painting. We got cells happening. So now what? Well, let's take and just scrape it off, because it's practice. So just scrape it. I'm going to move the canvas here for a minute, and then gather your paint up. And that's why I put some new freezer paper down, so I can easily move my paint around. And I'm going to grab another cup. So I've got another cup, and I'm just going to scoop it in. And I won't scoop all this because it's going to take some time. But basically, we're just practicing. So we're just going to move the paint around and then scoop up our paint, and we can always use it again. And we're not worried about getting a pretty painting. We're just worried about practicing. So, all right. So there we go. Let's do another one. So I'm just going to, I'm not worried about the little leftovers at all. And I'm just going to do it again. So I'm going to pour a puddle. And I just try to get a good idea. After you've done this a few times, you get kind of a good idea about how big your paint puddle needs to be. But you could always add more. If you don't have enough, you can always add some more. So let me blow that out. And where's my dryer? Here we go. Okay, I'm going to go on mute, and I'm going to blow this sucker out. Just a second. Okay, so the other thing is you don't have to do that like really fast. That went pretty quickly, but you can take your time with blowing the paint. You don't have to do it really, really quickly. I see a lot of people doing it very fast. Sometimes, I mean, a lot of people are very used to it and have done it a lot, but you don't have to do it really quick. So you can take your time. And on the next one, I'll take my time. I'll do it a little slower. So again, I'm going to use my blue, my Prussian blue, and just put down one little line. I'll make an interesting line. There we go. So this time, I'm not going to blow any paint over. I'm just going to blow it out just like this, and we'll see what happens. And also, you'll see you don't need a lot of paint to make really cool things happen. So, all right. Now, I got my dryer. I'm going to go on mute again, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's an interesting composition. I like that. That's kind of cool. And you can really get kind of detailed with moving the colors. It's harder, the smaller your canvas, kind of the harder it is to move the paint around, just because you have such a wide stream of air. But you can get pretty good with a little bit of practice. You can get pretty good at just blowing little areas and sections out. So that's kind of cool. I like that. And again, that's just one color, and we got a lot of interesting things happening. So, but let's scrape it off and do something else, because we're practicing. And I got to tell you, nothing's quite as liberating as just scraping canvas out when you know you're not going to save it. It's just, there's no pressure at all. You're just moving the paint around. You're just playing around with the blow dryer and some colors. And no stress, just fun. That's the whole point, right? Just to have fun. So I'm scooping up my paint. Maybe we'll use this next as our base coat. Okay. So you have to watch me scrape paint up off the table. Donna's got a great idea. Just scrape the paint off right into the cup. That is a good idea, Donna. Why didn't I think of that? Let's see. What is, Navala said, I think it was a softer flow when you blew the white over it. Yes, good point, Navala. When you do the blow over with the base coat, you can get a little more subtle blending of colors. And I mean, that's, obviously it's a little different look because we have white mixing in with the blue, as opposed to just blowing out the ribbon of color. You get a little more of the saturated color because it's not blending as much. So that's a great observation, Navala. So, okay, let's try. I'm gonna wait with that. Now, one thing you could do, and I'd like to do this, I'll show you here, is like a double color base coat. So I'm gonna put some of the white on. I'm gonna just pour some of this on, and we'll blow it out and see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna go on mute again. I'll be right back. So that's a really fun way of just getting some interest in your canvas before we've done anything. You just put a couple very similar value colors down, and now we have like a lot of cool stuff happening before we've even added any colors. Oh, thanks, Donna. Donna thinks that's cool. So I do too. I think that's cool. So now what we're going to do? Well, I need to add a little more blue to my little cup. So let's try like a combination of things. So I'm going to put a ribbon down, And let me see. Let me pour it down more of a straight line. Now, I'll put a little paint here, a little of the base coat white. And I'll do a blowover on this side and then not on this side. Let's see what happens with that. So it'll kind of be a half and half. So okay, so I'm going to mute and then let's see what happens. So that one, I don't really like that one. We've got way too much blue happening. This is okay, but now let's see if we can fix it because we're just practicing. So I think it'd be cool if I had more white down here in this section. So I'm going to just scrape this off. Something like that, maybe a little more. And then I'm going to add some more of the white base coat. And I'm going to blow this way, but now we're making an interesting line. So we've changed the edges of our painting, and that can be sometimes really cool. So I'm going to blow this down and then maybe manipulate it a little, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm going to go on mute again really fast. Well, I did something cool here, but then I wrecked this whole thing. So that wasn't good. But you can see kind of how we can kind of erase parts and then add some more stuff. So let me try to do the same over here now. I'm going to just get rid of this. And so we got some interesting stuff here. I like this dark area, and I kind of like these ribbony things. So let's add some more. I put a little of the blue over here. So I'm going to blow this out, and then I'll add a little more of the Prussian blue, and then we'll see if we can fix it. So, but again, this is just practice. We're just, problem solving and having fun. So let's see what happens. Okay. Okay, I'll be right back. We'll see what I can do. So there, we changed the whole painting by just taking some stuff off and adding a little more paint. Oops, I got a little drip on there. But I like this. That's kind of cool. And I like this dark kind of like a triangular shape. I tried to blow this paint right here in this edge of the blue. I tried to blow that, but I didn't quite have enough paint there. And sometimes you can tell with your blow dryer, if it's not moving easily, you probably don't have enough paint to move it. So I just let that one go. So, but that's an interesting painting. I like some of the stuff that's happening. So I'm checking my blue or my white. We're running out of white. But let's try one more and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to take Donna's advice and see if I can scrape it right into the cup. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it works like a charm. Cool, and I got a bunch more here. Just throw a little bit of that in there. Okay, that's good for now. Hey, Mama Delas, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Okay, so let's try one more. And if it's good, maybe I'll keep it. We'll see. So I'm going to do, I don't have enough white to do another all white base coat, so I'm going to use the blue. So I'll just pour this on. Got a bunch of interesting colors there. So I'll blow that out and then we'll come back and we'll see what we want to do with it. So I'll be right back. Okay. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Mama Delas. I appreciate that. That is awesome. I thank you so much for the super sticker. You're amazing. Thank you very much. So, okay, so we got an interesting blue base coat. And what am I going to do? Let's try this. I'm going to put a little more blue in my cup here. And I'll put a little ribbon down. Maybe I'll do another line here. Like a little more interesting. And then I've got a little bit of white, very little. But let me try to put a little white on top of that. Here we go. So I just put the remaining base coat I had in my little pointy cup. And I'm going to put some of that on here. Just right on top of the blue. And the other thing is you don't have to be perfect with these lines or anything. Just, they don't have to be right on top of each other. So that doesn't really matter at all because we're going to be blowing them everywhere. So, and then I'll put a little more blue right on a little section there. Okay. So I'm going to blow this out. Let's see what we can do with it. And I'll be right back. So that one, I spent a little more time kind of getting a little bit more detail in a couple of these areas. And thank you very much, Mama Dulas. Appreciate that. I love when I can get some sharper edges on some of these shapes. I really like that. I like a variety of edges. I love the feathery edges over here, and I like the little pockets of cells. But then I love these kind of sharper, jaggedy, straighter edges. So I like this one a lot, I think. I love this little tuft that's blowing out right here. So that's a kind of an interesting composition to me. I tried to blow this out a little more, but I didn't want to disturb some of this other stuff. So I just left it well enough alone. So sometimes, if it's not quite, one little area is not working the way you like, it's best to leave it alone instead of kind of sacrificing like the bigger whole painting. So, well, for now, I'll leave that one. So I kind of like that. So let me switch the camera, and I'll check and see if you have any other questions. And just a sec here, I'm going to switch. So that's kind of what I like to do with just practicing the Dutch pour. Just get two colors, a base coat color and another color. Put the paint on the canvas, blow it around, scrape it off, do it again. And if you spent an afternoon doing that, I think you'd be surprised at how much agility you get with moving the dryer and how much control you can get moving the paint around, and not worrying about getting a nice looking painting. It's all about just practicing. And this technique, especially this technique, takes more practice, I think, than a lot of the other ones, just because there's so much going on. You have to get the paint consistency right. We're working with a big tool, the blow dryer, and doing the few different things, blowing the paint over the color and then blowing it out. So there's a lot going on. So this one definitely takes some practice to perfect and get right. And you're very welcome, Donna. Thanks for stopping by. And at that, not all of them are going to be great, but you can. The nice thing about the Dutch pour, as opposed to some other techniques, is you can do a lot of fixing, as we saw earlier. You can scrape stuff off, add more paint, blow it again. So you have a lot of flexibility in what you can do with this technique, which I really like a lot. So let's see. Any questions? Throw them in the comments. And yeah, JC said he's going to spend Friday afternoon practicing blowing. Nice. I like that. Yes, Angie, thank you very much for showing up. Go back to your painting. Bye-bye. Thank you. Navala likes the blue background. Thanks, Navala. And Donna said it looks like a bird. Thank you. Yeah, I like that one. So yes, Donna says better to use the blow dryer than a straw. Absolutely. Like for larger pieces like this, yes. The blow dryer is much easier to blow the paint around. The straw is nice for small things. Now you could do little Dutch pours on like little 8x8 canvases, and straws are awesome to work with that. And especially if you get into blooms, straws become very helpful with the bloom technique. But yes, Donna, that's great. But also the blow dryer can create a gigantic mess. So be prepared for that and set up like a little barrier wall. Or I know a popular thing to get is the puppy pools, those expandable little wash pools you can get for dogs and things. Those are handy too. They're not super expensive, but those are, you can find those on Amazon. I know those are popular. Yeah, Navala says the straws make you dizzy. They do. Straws will make you pass out if you're not careful. So let's see. Mama Delas asked, when you scrape your paints, will you reuse them for a base, even if they're too thin? Well, that's an interesting question. Like for other techniques, you mean, I assume. Yes, you can collect all this paint now that we've been blowing all over the place, and you can collect them again. If you leave them in a cup covered, if you leave it for a week or two, your paint will actually thicken up because some of that water will evaporate. So you could do that, or you could just use them for other Dutch pours. Like that's probably what I do most often with my leftover paints for Dutch pours. I usually just use them for another similar technique like the Dutch pour. Same with my other paints for like ring pours and flip cups. I usually use those for the similar type of techniques. But those you can always thin more with more water. So great question though. Andy says, why do it the Dutch pour? I'm not quite sure what you mean, Angie, with the Dutch pour. But bye-bye. She's off from sunny New Zealand. So, well, thanks everyone. I hope you found this useful, and I hope you get some confidence in practicing this technique. And I think just a little bit of practice like we did tonight, and you'll get so much more confident in doing this technique. So anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the screen. So anyway, I think that's it. And thanks so much for stopping by and watching me blow a bunch of paint around. I hope you found it useful and helpful. And if you have any other questions, you can always find me on Facebook or YouTube. And if you want to join my Facebook group, let me throw that up quick. I do a lot more commenting in my Facebook group. So you could head on over to Acrylic Pouring Club over on Facebook, and you can just click the little join group and I'll let you in. And we do a lot of chats in there, and I ask questions and comment on other people's paintings, and it's a really fun group. So I really am happy with the way that's going. So I will see you in the group if you want to join. And thanks so much, JC, for stopping by. And thanks, Angie. I will see you next time. So if there's no other questions, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll see you later this week. Bye-bye, everybody.